How can you support the C2K report? Honestly, we're not looking for handouts. We are assembling a team of free thinkers that are called to fund everything ecclesia. When you join Project 144, you become a lifetime seat holder at the big ecclesia ministry table, enabling you to collaborate with other Project 144 members to fund projects everywhere. For more information on the power of Project 144, visit our homepage at C2KReport.com and click the Project 144 logo. That's C2KReport.com and click the Project 144 logo. See you there. Hello, American Levitical Kingdom Privateers. Welcome to the C2K Report. You're going to notice somebody's missing. Yeah, Randy's missing. Randy's traveling this week, and we had some very pressing things we wanted to share with you here at the C2K Report. So it's going to be just me for now, but we're going to get into some really, really, really important stuff. So we're going to call this the basics. Okay, this is the basics. You notice I got my board over here, my whiteboard, and we're going to be drawing some stuff to make things more clear to people. We have some people that literally are starting at the point of like, never heard of this before. We have others that are at a novice level, others that have some experience in the Babylonian system, and then others that have been studying for years and years and years. So we have a bunch of different kinds of people coming on board to be part of the ecclesia, learning how to come out of Babylon and literally build an apparatus, a governing apparatus outside of Babylon, so that they can govern themselves according to God's law, and then also build an ecclesia infrastructure outside of Babylon, one that Babylon has no interest, no compelling interest in whatsoever. So even national security, they have no compelling interest, even with national security. So it's something that we need to do. So we're going to go to the whiteboard here. Before we go to the whiteboard, I just want to remind everybody we have a June class coming up. I think it's, what is it, the 13th, something like that it starts. It's whatever that Monday is. I believe it's the 13th. Please, if you've never been through the class, sign up, okay? It's free. There's no strings attached. It's just pure education and information to help you to understand where we're coming from. What was it? I mean, you knew something was wrong, but we can detail it now. We have enough understanding of the Babylonian system that we could actually detail what is wrong specifically. And we have 4 sessions that we bring you through and really help you understand it, and then we help you also be able to counter it, okay? Because that's the remedy. A lot of shows, they give you all this historical perspective, but they don't ever tell you how to actually apply it to your life. We show you how to apply it. The classes are specifically and strategically meant for that. So sign up if you've not been through a class. Now, we don't get monetized here at these channels that we're on. Okay, we literally have never received a cent. We're not sure that we really want to, okay? Because we're not interested in anybody having any compelling interest over the C2K report, or any of the individuals who are on the C2K report. So we have partners that we've partnered with. One of them is the Epic Times, and the Epic Times is full of good news, okay? They also have Babylonian news, but it's a truthful perspective on the Babylonian news. So if you're interested in that, it's one of our partners. You can save money by subscribing to the Epic Times here on this show. Here's how. Are you tired of fake news and cancel culture? Me too. Stay informed and stay free by subscribing to the only paper that I read, the Epic Times. Subscribe today and get the Epic Time for just $1 the first month. Yes, that's right, just $1 the first month. And because you're a listener of the C2K report, you'll get a discounted monthly subscription of just $77. Not the $99 that everybody else has to pay, but the $77 that you as a C2K listener get to have. So simply use the promo code C2K to enjoy the lowest rate available. Go to C2KReport.com, click on the Epic Times logo on our homepage, and it'll bring you here. Simply enter the promo code C2K to enjoy the lowest savings ever. Thank you, Epic Times, for partnering with the C2K report. Okay, so let's get right to it. So the question that we all want to answer is, how does it exactly work? Because all of us are thinking, and this was my thinking too for years, right? I was naturally born on the land of the United States of America. So surely the laws of the United States of America apply directly to me, and I have to obey them because they have compelling interest because I was born here. Well, turns out that's not how it works. Okay? You see, specifically in America and in every other country too, but in a different way, and we'll get to that later. In America, you see, we have the Constitution. We have the Bill of Rights. We have the Declaration of Independence. We have the Bible. All of these things are considered our founding documents. Did you know that? That's our founding documents. Now, the law of the land is a very limited one. It tells our elected officials, that's who we reserve to call government, right? It tells them what they can do. It does not tell them, except for in certain situations, what they can't do. But there are some places where the founding fathers were so concerned that these things would be violated because they have always been violated in every kind of law form ever. Okay? So they stipulated very specifically in the Constitution no on these things. Like, Congress shall not limit, restrict. Congress shall not pass any law, right? Concerning the exercise, the free exercise of religion. Now, religion is specifically defined, specifically defined as Christianity because that's how our founding fathers defined it. See, we don't wait till 200, 300, 400, 500 years later to define what our founding fathers defined. We don't redefine it in the future and say, well, religion is really, any of these things. No, that's not how it works. We define it according to the definitions of the day, right? So we are a Christian nation. Okay? And please don't say Judeo-Christian. No. We are a Christian nation. That's not anti-Semitic, what I have to say. That's just the facts. We're not a Judeo-Christian nation. We are a Christian nation. Okay? So I don't want to debate it. Okay? I'm just going to say we are a Christian nation. Now, all of us believed that we were a Christian nation, and we've always had allegiance to our nation, very, very proud and specific allegiance to our nation because we believed that our nation was a Christian nation. And it not only was founded on Christian principles, but it was also founded in such a way to where to where it could overcome tyranny. Now, unfortunately, that's also not the way Satan works. You see, Satan will take a good thing and he'll overlay it on top of another good thing, and it'll rot the entire batch. Now, what do I mean by that? Here's what I mean by that. Imagine you planted a garden. And that garden was beautiful. It was coming up perfectly. All the vegetables and fruits, there was no, everything was balanced in such a way to where the bugs got their part, but it didn't affect your part. It was just perfectly balanced, right? Everybody got the very best of the fruit. And we, in that situation, were able to give our first fruits to the Lord. And it's this cycle, right? This cycle. We give our first fruits to the Lord blesses it, and counts us unto righteousness, and suddenly, it just kind of repeats, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Wonderful world. That's the intent. But what happened was, you see, Satan knew, hey, what they have is such a good thing, and it's so hard to defeat it, that what we're going to do is we're going to mirror it. We're going to overlay on top of that garden another garden. And this garden is going to block the sun from getting to the de jure garden, the real garden, the lawful garden, right? And suddenly it's going to die off. And all anybody's going to know is whatever is planted in this other garden that's on top of that garden. And over time, they're going to forget that the other garden even existed. In fact, the rotting vegetation of that garden is going to feed this garden that's been overlaid on top. Okay? That is what happened. That's exactly what happened. Because here's how it goes, okay? When we were born on this land, we became I'm just going to use the word citizen because there really isn't any other word that in our current vernacular we understand, okay? So we became a citizen of the United States of America. Okay? Now, notice the appellation or the order in which I put that. Citizen, capital C, means it's a proper noun because it's a real person, a real man, real woman, okay? And it's of the United States of America. In other words, we are of the land, right? Of the United States of America. So that's a proper appellation because if you look in the Constitution, that's how it defines us. It says citizens of the United States. That's what it says. That's how it refers to us. But if you notice, everything that you get these days, it says United States citizen. Now, two different things mean that they're wholly different things. You can't define something as citizen of the United States the same as you would something called the United States citizen. Okay? Because they are, because they're ordered differently, they have a different construction to them. Okay? Now, so if you think about it, a citizen of the United States is somebody who is one of the originators, one of the founders of this country. Citizen of the United States. The citizen comes first. It's capital C, citizen of the United States. But a United States citizen, it sounds a lot like it came after the United States. United States citizen. And you always notice that the citizen is a lowercase c. So it's not a proper noun. It's something else. It's another kind of person. So here's the thing. What happened was, as our enemies would have it, they developed a layer, a garden, if you will, of and called it exactly what the United States of America. They called this the United States of America too, and they set a layer up on top of all of the United States of America, and gave it a different jurisdiction. They created amendments to our Constitution, which in its original form, its original 10 amendments, was amazing. Okay. It started to amend the Constitution for the purpose of literally confusing us into thinking that when they talk about the United States of America, they're talking about the same United States of America. All right? But it's actually totally different. All right? Now, here's how I'm going to... A lot of people at this point are going to say, Rick, that's a conspiracy theory. Okay, that's a conspiracy theory. How can you actually prove that? Okay. So here's how we're going to prove. We're going to prove it by their actions. By their actions. If you are a citizen of the United States and you are one of the founders or a progeny, right? You're somebody who came along after, but you were line of succession to the founding fathers. That's all of them, not just the ones that wrote the Declaration or wrote the Constitution, but anybody who was here, who was naturally born in this country. Okay, or even came over to this country and changed their allegiance. All right, so I want to make that very clear. Okay, so let's go to the board. Right here, okay, that's like that's a hat, right? It's like a pilgrim hat. In fact, let's make it a pilgrim hat, right? Okay, all right. So that's like a pilgrim hat. These are the guys. This is you and me. These are real Americans. All right? Real Americans. And for the sake of argument, we're going to call them citizens of the United States of America. That's what we're going to call them. All right? These guys, the only thing that they owe allegiance to is the United States of America, its Constitution. All right? Its limited government constitution, which literally just defines things like commerce and things like by the way, when we say commerce, we're talking about state to state commerce. And then we're also talking about like money, okay? Things like that. Define representation, defines what a court system looks like, and specifically for government, okay? Because remember, the Constitution literally frames what government is going to look like. It's really a love letter from us to the government, telling them what they need to do. It doesn't tell us what we need to do. We reserve all of our rights. Okay? We don't have a problem knowing what to do, because we'll do things according to the ways of the Lord. Because remember, we're a Christian country. All right? So, a scheme came about where now the presumption is that you are not a citizen of the United States of America, but a U.S. citizen, a holistically different thing. So we're going to draw that in a different way. Okay, that's not a hat. Those are horns. Okay. This is a U.S. citizen. Okay. Now, a U.S. citizen, the first time that we hear the phrase U.S. citizen is after the 14th Amendment is created. Within the text of the 14th Amendment, we get this U.S. citizen. So, these guys, which existed before the 14th Amendment, are different from these guys. Except there's now a presumption that all of us are this United States citizen. So how do we get from here to here just based on presumption? See, and this is where we're going to prove that this is not a conspiracy theory, that this is a well-organized scheme. Okay? Well, these guys, why would they ever have to register to do anything? Do you think that these guys, the citizens of the United States of America, ever had to register to vote? No. Do you know that an elector with the capacity to vote was literally defined in the original constitutions of every state? And it had to do with owning land. If you owned a certain amount of land, in some states it was 40 acres, in some state it was 200 acres. It was different in different states, okay? So if you owned land, you didn't have to register to vote. You just proved by your deed that you owned the land, and you went and you voted, and you became an elector, and you functioned as an elector. Everything in our society to the citizen of the United States of America is done without registration. There's nothing that this individual would have to do to register, because this individual, he has the freedom of travel. So why would he have to register a vehicle? Or why would he have to register, his biological property? Why, when somebody is born, would this individual ever have to register anything? Okay? Because it's just, at that time, we're just talking about records that are being kept in the church. And the church was a perfect place to actually keep the record of births and deaths and different situations that happened. And people would actually put it in the family Bible, and that's what was considered as authentic in those days. There was no registration that took place. Now, registration is the scheme. Notice how now, when it comes to your biological property that you give birth to, ladies, I'm talking to you specifically, when you give birth to a baby, that is you and your husband, hopefully, you and the other person, okay, that is your biological property. And it is your duty to raise that child in the way that he or she should go. All right? That's your duty. Now, there's no registration necessary for that. But yet we register them. Now, why do we register our biological property? You see, little by little, the enemies of our republic, the enemies of our ways of life, our Christian ways of life, began to infiltrate our government and our society. And they had influence over it to pass certain legislation that would be enforced forcefully on the people, even if the statutes have no direct implication on the people, that they would just force it upon them. Okay? That is exactly what they began to do. You go back and you study the history of the birth certificate. It has to do with health problems. It has to do with pandemics. It has to do with a study that was being conducted. And slowly that study became an act of law. Now, that act of law doesn't directly apply to you until you make it apply. Okay, that's the thing. See, every act of law that's passed within the statutes of a state, within the what they call the statutes at large, or the codified law, or whatever it wants to be called in whatever state you want to talk about. Okay, every one of those states have these statutory laws that they pass, but for you to engage with it, you must register. Okay, and these days, now what they do is they are constantly renewing, upgrading, making these acts more and more tyrannical by literally amending them over and over and over again. So what they do now, when you register into a system, they ask you the question, are you a U.S. citizen? Now, if you don't answer the question, it's going to look like this. It's a checkbox, right? So you check it. Are you a U.S. citizen? Or they may even have gotten to the point where they receive so many complaints about U.S. citizen, or they've been advised so many times that now they call it a citizen like this. Are you a citizen of the U.S.? Okay, that's what it looks like here in South Dakota when you go to register to vote. They ask you, are you a citizen of the U.S.? And of course you're thinking, man, wow, that's constitutional. I'm going to check that. Oh boy, but I just registered. Oh. So here's the deal. The scheme is registration. That is the doorway to you being directly impacted by statutes, by codes, by protocols, by procedures, by all of that. You're directly impacted by it. To this day, you don't have to have anything. You don't have to have a social security number. You don't even have to have one to work, but you do have to have one to work for a U.S. registered company. There's that word again, registered. You see, when companies decide that they want the benefits that the United States can offer, they say, oh, we're going to register our company with the Secretary of State of the state in which we do business, and we are going to benefit from the United States, and the United States is going to benefit from us. Now, if you cheat the system and you're a registered business, you know what they're going to do? They're going to get you for defrauding the United States. You see? But if you've never registered a business and you're doing a business for the purpose of benefiting not the United States or receiving benefit from the United States, but for benefiting your family or for benefiting the kingdom of God, that's a whole different question. You see? The scheme is registration. Now, one of the questions that I've been asked several times is, and I'm gonna say it this way: there's people who have professions like certified public accountants, lawyers, people who are, what do you call it? Pseudo lawyers, the ones who are kind of the gophers who do things for them. Paralegals, right? Those kind of professions, they'll look at this and they'll say, well, because one of the principles is the United States that we now call Babylon, right? It's a corporation. The Babylon Corporation. Now, we tell people that the Babylon Corporation only does business with other corporations. So people get confused. They say, wait a minute, I work for a corporation and we do business with individuals. So you must not be right. But wait. Remember what I said about registration? How it converts you into something that you weren't born as, You were born this. But when you register into the United States or into Babylon, you become this. Right? You become this. So now you are liable, or what they like to call it, you have obligation to the United States. You have compelling interest, or the United States has compelling interest over you. Now, how is it that the United States can have compelling interest over your flesh and blood body? It doesn't belong to them. But the capacity that you're operating in within the Babylonian system, it does belong to them because they created that capacity. Rick, what do you mean they created that capacity? What are you talking about? How did they create that capacity? When you registered. This is a capacity. The United States citizen is not flesh and blood. A United States citizen is a corporation. It's a corporation that's been incorporated to do business in the United States. Okay? That is why we say that the Babylonian corporation can only do business with other corporations. Because the Babylonian corporation only does business with U.S. citizens. They can't do business with a citizen of the United States of America. Why is that? Why can't they do business with a citizen of the United States of America? Because in order to enter their contracts, you must register. You see, is it becoming clear? In order for you to enter contract in the United States, you must register. There is a doorway of registration. Let me ask you this question. Many of you are nurses, doctors, paralegals, things that require licensure. How do you enter into a relationship with the United States in order to be a doctor, nurse, paralegal, those kind of things, CNA? A license, right? What do you fill out in order to secure a license? Isn't it, don't you fill out an application for registration? Of course you do. You fill out an application, which is the registration process. It is the doorway for you to have a relationship with the United States. The United States benefits you to be able to practice underneath a particular title. Okay, look at the U.S. title. Go look up the U.S. code sometime, and you'll see it's all in Title 1, Title 2, Title 3, they all have different subheadings. And underneath those headings, there's different subheadings. And underneath those subheadings, there's other subheadings. Okay? When you register to be governed by one of those titles, that's what you get. You get governed by one of those titles. So let me see how well you guys have got this so far, or how well I'm teaching it, because maybe I'm just blowing it too. I don't know. But here's the thing. Let me ask you this question. How does Babylon get compelling interest over you in any area? If I had Jeopardy music, I'd play it. Did I hear somebody just say registration? Ding ding, that is the winner. Yes. Registration is how Babylon gets compelling interest. When you register or apply for any particular benefits of Babylon, you are going to be governed by that title. And everything you do is going to be under the microscope of Babylon. Okay? That's how it works. Registration is the scheme. Now, how do you stay out of that, you ask? How do you stay out of registration? Well, you don't register. Well, then, how do I work as a paralegal? How do I work as a nurse? How do I work as a... We have to build an ecclesia infrastructure. But to do that, we need people to come out of Babylon, so that you, under the headship of your house, okay, under the protection of your house, which is essentially an embassy, because the Bible says we are ambassadors for Christ. We are ministers of reconciliation, which means reconciliation means to bring someone in and to make it right. Reconcile, make it right. Those are the duties of the ecclesia. That is who we are. So, let's talk about authentication after this. Are you in pain? I am. I cut meat for a living, and as a meat man, I have a really sore thumb on my cutting hand. I recently went to a conference where I was introduced to a pain patch that I fell in love with. QE Strong has a line of incredible products that relieve pain. The special patches emanate a frequency that is scientifically proven to bring fast pain relief. I know it works because I use it. To get some of these patches, go to www.c2kreport.com and click on the QE Strong box on the homepage. Click on the QE Strong box on our homepage. Then click the check availability button and order a few boxes of skin patches today. Order some for yourself and order some to give away to your neighbors. Thank you, QE Strong, for partnering with the C2K report. The birth certificate is the crux of the entire matter. Think about it. At what point did Babylon gain the compelling interest over your body in order to presume that you have an obligation or an allegiance towards it? It was at your birth when you were registered. That is the crux of the entire thing. That's where the bodily concept comes in. That's where the presumption comes from for compelling interest, that somehow you owe some kind of an allegiance or some kind of an obligation to the United States, in that you were registered in the United States. Okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I've got notes on my phone here that I'm going to go over with you. Okay, the playbook of Babylon is to capture your biological property, because by capturing your biological property, they have compelling interest to administrate over every area of your life. That's the first area of presumption. Even if you didn't have the compelling interest over your biological property, they still could have compelling interest over parts of your life because you've contracted by registration. Okay? But the playbook of Babylon is to overcome the most basic argument by capturing your biological property. So here it is. Birth. Okay? Sorry about my handwriting. Birth. That's where it starts. Because most people use a hospital, which is a registered entity that owes an obligation to the United States, and the hospital, just by protocol and by statute, is literally made to issue a report of birth. They get your John Hancock on an application for registration, so that you can get a certificate of title back for your birth certificate. Certificate of it's a certificate of birth, right? A birth certificate. So they compel the mother, in most cases, they compel the mother under the mother's maiden name, okay? And I won't go into that, but you think about that for a minute. They compel the mother under the mother's maiden name to apply for a birth certificate. So, and in that application process, which is a registration, they normally check the box that says, also issue a Social Security card, right? So it's kind of all in one thing. It kind of all inclusive. Anymore, they make it very easy to get for Babylon to get compelling interest. So when you're born, the biological property that you just pushed out, whether you're a mother or father, you're a part of that process. So you register it. Just writing Regis. Go look up, what Regis is. You register the birth. Okay? So now Babylon has compelling interest over the birth, over this new individual that is now alive on the land. So they issue a certificate of birth. They used to call it a certificate of live birth. I don't know if they still issue those or not. But certificate of birth, that's what you get. Okay, now, that certificate of birth is essentially evidence of the birth. You can substitute the word certificate for evidence. Certificate basically equals evidence. Apply that in everything that you have. If you have a certificate of title for your car, it's evidence of title. It's not the actual title. It's the evidence of title. The actual title, the actual birth record has been, has been created in some place that you'll never see. You'll never see whatever has been created. All right? But we know through evidence, through this scheme called registration, that they create a new person, if you will, which is kind of a reflection of what happens when you become a new creature in Christ, right? When you become a new creature in Christ, you become a new creature after you've confessed your sin, and God has saved you, and you've been immersed, and now you're this new creature, and suddenly the old is gone, the new has come, right? Well, this Babylonian system thinks that that's great. So what do? They create a new creature. But the new creature, you're going to see it everywhere. Look on everything that you have, your bank cards, your driver's license, your social security number. Everything has got this individual, and you and I would never do it this way, but this is what they do. You got this person in all caps. Now, a lot of people, this is where people really get crazy, and they say to me, "Oh, Rick, that's a conspiracy theory. It's not capitis diminutio or whatever in Latin, because Latin didn't have these letters, and Latin didn't do this, and well, whatever." You know what? Here's the thing, all right? I can show you, and on a different episode I will. Okay, I'll actually read it to you. I'll actually put it on my screen so you can see it. I've written letters to several. The city for my water bills, the phone bill, all these different things, right? Where my name appears in all capital letters. And I asked them, hey, you know what? If I'm a paying customer, and I love your service. I like having water at my house. I like having telephone service and cable and internet and all those kind of things. That's great. That's great. But could you write my name right on my bill? Instead of all capital letters, could you just go like, uppercase and then lowercase, like you would, in grammar and like in school? Nobody writes their name in all capital letters. What is that? What is that all about? And I literally got letters back from him saying, sorry, Mr. Hidalgo, I can't do that. I can't do it. We can't do it because our machine won't let us. So I started looking into that. Here's interesting. They have software that's literally created by Babylon that they have to use. And, there's this you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours kind of situation. And they cannot change it on their side. They cannot change it. It literally prints it out that way every time. Now, I wonder why. I wonder why it does that. Why it doesn't give them the opportunity to actually put somebody's name in the proper appellation. Why not? Okay, now, I've seen a couple times in unincorporated areas, unincorporated jurisdictions, where, they have bills that come out are upper and lowercase. And it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. But it doesn't mean that they're treating you as a flesh and blood person. If they're a registered company of Babylon, they're dealing with you in this appellation. How do I know that? Because remember how I was talking about there's different capacities. There's the United States. There's the citizen, capital C, citizen of the United States of America. And there's the U.S. citizen. This is the U.S. citizen. Okay? This is the lower capacity. This is the one that's being created. The first time you will ever see it in your life is after the birth. When You apply for a birth certificate, you put their name like this. And why do you do that? Because all of us grew up in civil, classrooms. That's how you do it in grammar. I mean, I'm no grammar professional, and trust me, I've got people who edit my stuff because I'm not good at that, all right? But I know that this is the way that we used to put stuff down on our papers, okay? I know we did not do this. So, how does this turn into this unless there's something going on? Well, I can tell you that there is something going on. It's just that that particular part of the argument is pointless in trying to get into because it could, whatever. Doesn't matter. If your name appears like this or this, who cares? But how are you being treated? What's the presumption that's being placed upon you? Are you being presumed in a certain capacity because of the registration that took place? Yes. There's a presumption going on. So whether they're addressing you this way in your town or this way in your town, it doesn't matter. If you're registered, they're addressing you as a U.S. citizen. And that is not a man. That is not a woman. That is a corporation. Okay? So let's just get that foundation settled in concrete first. But let me show you what happens in a registration process. We are living in times of Babylonian desperation, and no one knows what pestilence will be released next. But it's not a time to fear. God's healers are stepping up to the plate all over the earth. There is no better example than Dr. Zelenko's protocol. Dr. Zelenko's Z-Stack is proven to maintain your immune system and keep it resilient and resistant. Go to C2KReport.com and click the Z-Stack logo to join the thousands of people building a resilient and resistant immune system. Save 5% by entering coupon code C2K at checkout. Thank you, Dr. Zelenko, for partnering with C2K. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the players of this match. Okay, just kidding, but let me introduce you to the players nonetheless. Okay, these are the parts. Deed. What's a deed? Okay, a deed is a signed legal document that transfers, listen carefully, transfers ownership of an asset to a new owner. Okay, so a deed is used to transfer ownership to a new owner. And a deed is actually any legal document that does that. Okay? So, here's another thing. There's another player, the transferee. So who's the transferee? Any party who is receiving title or custody of the delivery would be considered a transferee. This could be the registrar, right? Very frequently it is. The transferee is the registrar every time when you have a registrar. So what's a transferor? Here's another person. A transferor. What is a transferor? A transferor is any party who relinquishes title or custody would be considered a transferor. So if you relinquish title or custody of something, you are a transferor. All right? Here's the last player. We talked about her slightly. So what is a registrar? What is a registrar? An official recorder or keeper of records who places the records under the seal of the transferee. Uh-oh. When you register something, let's look at the birth certificate. We registered the birth certificate with the registrar. The registrar is the keeper of the record and places the records under the seal of the transferee. Oh, remember the transferee? Okay? The party who's receiving title or custody of the delivery would be considered the transferee. The transferee is the one who actually receives the title or the custody. So who's the transferee in birth registration? The state. The state is the transferee, okay, because now they're receiving custody, and the holder of the record is the one who owns the property. Whatever record that points to, whatever property that record points to, that is the actual owner, the holder. Have you ever heard the term possession is 9/10 of the law? Where do you think that comes from? The transferee is the owner of the property that's reflected in those records that they're custodian over. The transferor is the one who's giving it up. That's us. We registered the birth certificate. The registrar gave it to the transferee to keep, because they are now the owners, the administrators of that record. So with the administration, do they have compelling interest over us? Yes, they have compelling interest. So, how do we get it back? How do we get it back? How? I want that back. Every last one of us probably want it back right now. We got to get it back. We got to find out where that thing went. We got to go get it back. Am I doing a good Alex Jones? I don't know. Okay. So, how do we get it back? Let me tell you how. Yep. Authentication. So how does that work, Rick? When you get your authentication all the way done after you've done through the state, and then you go to the feds and you get it authenticated and you get back the final product, it looks like this. Okay, that's the document. It's got a rivet right there that holds it all together, okay? And it's got some language. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, language there. It's got blah, 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 language down there, okay? And over here, on the left-hand side, there are some laws in which this process points directly to, okay? You know how the most amazing one of those laws is? It's the one that says that authenticating something is just like the original. Wait, Rick. The original? Does that mean that if really? I can get that back? Not the actual original, but just like the original. And now I can do it differently, can't I? Now I can say, oh, I don't want to give it to Babylon because compelling interest to Babylon has really hurt me over the years. And today, in this wild, crazy circus society that we live in, we can see it plainly, right? I want to register it in the ecclesia. Oh, but Jesus is at the right hand of the Father. I sure wish he had some ambassador. Oh, that's right. I'm an ambassador. You're an ambassador. Wouldn't you like to be an ambassador too? Oh, wait, that's... Anyway. So, guys, is this important? Yep. That's really important. And that's the whole crux of everything. Once you get that back, Babylon has no compelling interest. Now, they may in certain areas. They may yet control your career. They may yet control, your pensions. They may yet control your voting. They may yet control all kinds of things. Okay? They may control the thing that you travel around in. That contraption. They may control all kinds of things. But we can remove their control contract by contract. And we can do it very carefully once we've taken care of the big one. This is presumption number 1. The biggest presumption right there. We own you because we hold the custody of the record. No, you don't. I hold the custody of the record. And I've got it under a counter deed. Oh, counter deed? Oh, that sounds scary. What is that? No, not scary at all. That just means it's a private deed under my seal. A secret deed. One that nobody knows about. Kind of like what you did, Babylon. Right? Okay. We registered this, and you created this this fictional person, right? This fictional person is John. You did that, Babylon. You held the secret deed. You did something that we didn't ask you to do. Well, it's our turn. We're taking that back. We're going to put under a secret deed, a counter deed, and we are going to build an apparatus to self-govern ourselves under the laws of the universe. We're talking about the laws of God. That is our law. That is our law form. And that is what we're going to do. And that's what authentication begins the process of. I hope this has been really helpful to you guys. I don't want to go any further because I'll just confuse you even more. Because there's a lot more to this. Wait till you find out how Babylon sees contracts and how easy it is to counter them. Wait till you see a new understanding of the scripture that says bound on earth as it is in heaven. I just lit a cat out of the bag. I'm telling you, it's really, really, really cool. Wait till you hear this. Again, if you haven't attended our class, you may want to. The ecclesia is moving up, up, and up. We are getting closer and closer. And I tell you, as people come on board, the excitement level is building like you cannot believe. God bless you. Thank you for watching. And remember, everything we do here at the C2K Report, it's all about the blood.
Hi friends, Pastor Mike Spaulding here to announce the Go Therefore 2022 conference. We are all witnesses to what has happened to America. Wickedness has overwhelmed our land. It is time for the body of Jesus Christ to come together and raise up the banner of our King. Now is the time for the ecclesia to make our voice heard. We must bind the strong man in order to reclaim our land. Joining us this year to bring this much-needed clarion call are the following speakers: Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, James Spence, founder of Operation Heal America, Dr. John Diamond, host of America Unhinged on Brighteon TV, Kenny C., host of The Rock with Kenny C., Derek and Sharon Gilbert, authors and hosts of award-winning programs on Skywatch TV and the PTL Network. Dr. Michael Lake, author of award-winning books, founder of Biblical Life College and Seminary, and host of Kingdom Intelligence Briefing. David Hevner, author, accomplished filmmaker, and producer-director of The Last Evangelist TV series. Carl Gallups, senior pastor of Hickory Hammock Baptist Church, and a top 60 Amazon best-selling author. Casper McLeod, pastor of Upper Room Fellowship, author, songwriter, guitarist, and portrait artist. Randy Conway, David Paxton, and Rick Hidalgo from the C2K Report. They'll provide a timely teaching on the steps you must take to protect yourself and your family from Babylon. Coach Dave Daubenmire from Pass the Salt Ministries. Neil Peterson, pastor of Harvest Revival Center and current candidate for governor of Ohio. Tom Dunn of Through the Black Ministries. And of course myself, Dr. Mike Spaulding. Registration is now open at the conference website, GoThereforeConference.com. GoThereforeConference.com. Registration is still only $59. A recommended hotel is the Best Western Dayton Northwest in Englewood. The hotel is a short 20 minutes from the Dayton International Airport and the conference venue. Mention Go Therefore Conference for the special rate of $89. Book your rooms now, as they will sell out. Go Therefore 2022 Conference, reclaiming the land, binding the strong man. I'll see you there.